Welcome to In the Kitchen with Dinah. Today we're making an apple galette.
Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen, I know. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Gonna taste good, I know.
It is fall time and it is time to use some of these glorious apples that you could probably find almost anywhere. It only takes 2 apples and you're probably wondering what in the world is an apple galette. It is just a rustic apple tart, kind of with a delicious flaky pie crust on the bottom, and then we're gonna fill it with some apples, and it's baked on a cookie sheet. So it is super easy. Today I'm gonna use some fresh milled flour. And if you don't want to use fresh milled flour, you want to just use commercial flour, you can. You're going to need 1 cup plus 2.5 tablespoons. I'm going to mill some all-purpose flour, which is a combination of soft white, hard white, and then I put some kamut in here as well. And to get an all-purpose flour, you just want to use 1/3 of each kind, whether that be a cup of each, 1/3 of a cup of each. It's just three equal parts. So I'm going to put this in my mill and we're going to get it turned into flour, and then we're going to make our pastry crust. All right, so we got our fresh milled flour. And I just want to say, if you only have hard white and soft white berries, just use those 2. You can always add einkorn or spelt or anything like that into it if you want. So here we've got our fresh milled flour. It's delicious and beautiful. And I'm going to measure 1 and a couple tablespoons of that. We've got a little left over just because I milled more than I needed, but that's okay. So we've got our flour in here. We're going to add about 1 tablespoon of sugar, about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You just want to make sure it's flavored a little. And we're going to take our pastry cutter, kind of mix that up a little. And in my freezer, let me grab my butter. I have 6 tablespoons of butter that I just put in little cubes, and we're gonna mix that into our flour mixture and then add some water. This is kind of your basic pie crust, in addition with the little bit of sugar in there because we want a little sweeter crust. Now, if you've got a food processor, feel free to use that. If you want to use your fingers, you can also just smush it through your fingers. I always like using my pastry blender. How you get your arm workout in. And now I've not tried this recipe with fresh milled flour, so I'm excited because I think that the wheat is going to add such a nice nutty buttery flavor with the apples. I think it's going to be really, really delicious. So I like to mill my flour from the wheat berries. Some people like to sift the bran out, but the bran and the germ have all of the nutrients in them that your body needs. So by taking those out, you're taking a lot of nutrients and fiber out. So I leave it in just because it tastes better and it's better for you. Now, if that bothers you and you're trying to get your family to fresh milled flour and you need to sift a little bit out, go ahead. I mean, you're still getting a lot of the nutrition in there. And maybe you can just take baby steps to get them to liking it fully whole wheat. You can see I've got just a few pea-sized pieces in there, and it kind of looks like oatmeal-ish. I'm happy with that. All right, so we're gonna add 4 to 5 tablespoons of icy cold water. I'm just gonna get it out of the fridge, put a couple ice cubes in it because that's what works. It's all filtered. See if I'm probably gonna splash if I do that. Perfect. And our 2 ice cubes. All right, I'm just gonna use this spoon and I'm gonna start with 4, maybe 3. I'm just gonna kind of stir it together until it comes together like pie dough or biscuits or something. So there's 4. I think I'm going to put 5 in. All right, I'm going to move to my hand to kind of squish it together and knead it just a little. Now, if you need to, you can totally use a store-bought pie crust. In fact, you could use phyllo dough or frozen pastry crust if you want as well. There's no shame in doing that. Especially this one really comes together easy if you have your crust already made. All right, I'm going to add a tiny bit more. Now, depending on your humidity and the temperature, that all comes into play when you're working with fresh milled flour for sure. If we were more in a humid environment, I might need less water. Same with when you're making bread. We live in a pretty dry climate, so I'm guessing that's why I needed more. Okay, see, I've got my nice dough here. I'm gonna set our apples to the side here because they are coming in next. Now, you could wrap this in plastic wrap and chill this to get it nice and cold, but I never do. I just go for it. So I'm gonna grab some flour and preheat your oven to 400 degrees. That's the beep you just heard. So I'm gonna grab, I'm gonna grab another piece of parchment. I can sprinkle a little down on here. I'm just gonna roll it out on the parchment. You can see those nice chunks of butter. Those are gonna get wrapped in all of that beautiful dough and make it flaky and wonderful. This is the tricky part. So you just wanna roll it out. Really, actually my hand is working really good.
You need to tape your paper down.
That is such a great idea. Cameraman Ken said I should tape my paper down, but I'm gonna actually
Put the paper over the edge and lean on it with your waist to hold it.
You're so smart. All right, let's try that. Hey, look at that. You're so smart. Necessity is the mother of invention. Isn't that how it works? All right, I'm gonna turn it and do the same thing. Now we're gonna cook it on a cookie sheet because pretty much what we're gonna do is flatten this out into a very large circle, and then we're gonna pile our apples on it and wrap the crust up around it. Now you can use apples in this. You can do an apple pear combo. You could throw some berries in there. You could do peaches.
Apple pear with some cardamom, can you imagine?
Oh, apple pear with some cardamom, aren't you? Wow, what do you live with, a foodie lady? Who are you?
I learned things.
You're such a good student. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, well, I wasn't sure if that was gonna work because I was gonna like sandwich it between 2 parchment, but I'm very happy with that. So I'm gonna take this one away and I'm just gonna take my rimmed baking sheet and slide it on. Whoop. All right, so now we are gonna get our apple mixture ready to go. And we're gonna use the same bowl because why not? We're gonna go peel, core, and slice 2 apples and get those ready for our filling. So I've got my handy dandy apple peeler core here. It's just gonna suction cup down on the counter. I will link it in the description below along with the recipe. It's not an affiliate link, but if you don't have one of these, they are pretty darn fantastic. So I'm just gonna pop the apple on and away we go. All right, so I got these apples peeled, cored, done. We're gonna slice them up into little chunks. Actually, you can leave them halves if you want. Did you hear Apple? Do you need a snack? Where'd you go? You wanna come with me? This is one of Denver's very favorite things. There you go.
Go ball.
Okay, go to your spot. So because it already sliced them, they're probably about 1/4 inch thick if you don't have an apple peeler core. slicer. So actually, I'm just gonna leave them that size. So with our apple mixture, I have a 1/4 cup of sugar going in, some cinnamon, about a teaspoon, and I'm just gonna eyeball it because cinnamon is delicious with apples. That looks about right. A little bit of salt. Probably, you know, generous pinch to a 1/4 of a teaspoon. A little bit of vanilla. Boop. And then for our thickener, since these apples are gonna release some juice, we're gonna do 1 to 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now, if you want, you can use flour as well. That's a good thickener. I'm gonna add 1 in, just stir it and see what that looks like. Just get them coated. And I'm gonna add probably another 1/2. All right, so that is all mixed. Your apples are coated really well with the cinnamon and sugar, the cornstarch. We're just gonna pop it in the middle. Remember that galette means rustic, so if you want to take the time and fan your apples out, feel free. This is one of those quick desserts, and it's gonna look rustic. I'm just kind of pull in all the pieces apart. There we go. You want to keep 1 to 2 inches all the way around. So we are just really going to pile them in the middle. And then we're just going to take our crust and gently fold it up onto the apples. Now, if there's only 2 of you in your household, like it is here, this is a perfect little dessert for just 2 people because it doesn't make like this huge apple pie, and yet you still get that whole apple pie feeling. And if you ask me, this is great for dessert with some ice cream or breakfast because I kind of think it's a big Pop-Tart without a top on it. All right, so we've got that pulled up, that a little higher. If your crust breaks like this over here, I'm just gonna pinch it back together. So we don't want any leaks. I'm gonna take part of it. All right, let me wash and we'll be right back. I forgot one thing. I'm just gonna we're gonna put a little, you know how you always put milk and sugar on top of your apple? I'm gonna do that. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of milk. I'm just gonna, it's gonna give it just a nice glossy coat. Yum. There's nothing like fall and apples if you ask me. All right, I've got some sugar here. It's the chunky sanding sugar. I think you can see it. Whoops. I'm just gonna sprinkle some because it makes it look so pretty. Not too much. All right, so we're gonna bake this at 400 for 25 minutes. Then we're gonna reduce the heat to 375 and bake it for another 20 minutes. So let's get this galette in the oven. So our apple galette has just come out of the oven. It looks amazing. It smells even more amazing. So before we cut into it, we're gonna need to let it cool for about 20 minutes. You can see this big pool of apple juice. This is why we put it on parchment, and you know, I must have had a leak or something under there. All that delicious apple juice came out. It's totally fine. This is a rustic tart, so no worries. The tart itself looks like perfection. And we'll be back as soon as it's cool. Our galette has cooled. I've moved it onto a pretty serving platter. And at this moment, if you had some caramel sauce, just store-bought, I would drizzle it on there and have like a caramel apple. You could even put a little flaky salt on there. I don't happen to have any. I don't really have time to make any, but I am going to make it just a really fast icing. I'm just going to take a little bit of powdered sugar. And we're going to just make a quick drizzle, because I think that since we eat with our eyes first, it already looks beautiful, but why not knock it up a notch? So I'm going to drizzle just a little vanilla in, grab some salt, and then we're just going to put a tiny bit of milk in there. The never pour is great. And just whisk it up here. And you just kind of want it runny like that. I really don't have that much in here. Just going to decorate it. All right, so using my whisk, which is kind of one of my favorite ways to do a drizzle, I'm just going to take it and drizzle it on. Look how beautiful that looks. Yum, yum, yum. Well, that looks good. I'm not even going to use all of my drizzle. Let's cut into it. It's a flaky crust. The apples are so nice and tender. If you could see in there, some of the juice is coming out. So let's just cut a little slice here. You could almost pick this up and just eat it with your hand. Yum, look at that. Beautiful crust. And those delicious tender apples. You guys, this looks so amazing. I can't wait to have a bite. It's gonna be so fun to have the fresh milled flour crust. Here we go. Oh yeah. Wow. The apples are tender. They still have a little tooth to them, which I like. But the flavor from the fresh milled flour gives it such a nutty, delicious, whole grain taste. I really like it. And I'm knowing that I'm getting better nutrition in my body by using the fresh milled flour. Yum, yum. You guys, thank you again for joining me in my kitchen as I showed you how to make this delicious apple galette. Since it's fall, it's time to get those apple recipes rolling in your kitchen and share them with your family. This one went together super fast, minimal ingredients, and I sure hope you try it. And you guys, I hope you're enjoying this beautiful fall weather, and I'll see you on the next episode. Oh, where's your clappy?
I don't have it. This is apple...
Galette.
Huh?
Galette.
Apple galette. Oh, apple galette. Whatever the heck that is, that's what we're doing.
Going back over here. I'm sorry.
You are just determined to ruin every B-roll. Stop it. Can you hand me the lens cloth real quick?
I can't. I'm covered in crap.
I will grab it. I just fat fingered the front of the lens because I'm that guy. No touchy.
No touchy.
Really, I hope. Gonna taste good, I know.
All right.
So you're getting all the close-up sexy things with that camera.
Oh
right?
yeah. So you make sure you give me clearance for this camera, and you're gonna have those shots that Claire gets, which is what you want. Mm-hmm. We're gonna try and be like Claire.
That's right.